The courtroom doors creaked open. Every head turned. A little black girl stepped in. Braided hair. Oversized blazer. A backpack slung over her shoulder. She didn't say a word. Just walked in slow. Calm. But it was the silence that followed her that changed everything. Whispers broke out. Who let a student in? She must be someone's kid. Wrong room, sweetie. The judge didn't even look up. She was busy checking her phone. Opposing counsel, a smug man in his 50s, chuckled loud enough for the room to hear. Unless she's here to testify about crayons, I think someone needs a hall pass. Laughter. But the girl didn't flinch. She kept walking, all the way to the defense table. And that's when it happened. She pulled out a stack of documents, highlighted, annotated, color-coded. Then she reached into her backpack and pulled out something else. A copy of the U.S. Constitution. Real leather. Dog-eared. Used. She looked the bailiff dead in the eyes. My name is Amara Johnson. I'm representing my mother today. The room froze. Even the judge looked up. Her eyebrows lifted. Slightly amused. Mostly confused. Excuse me? Amara stood taller. My mom can't afford a lawyer. But she's not guilty. And I can prove it. Silence. Then, just like that, the judge chuckled. Sweetheart, this is a real court. Not a debate club. The prosecutor shook his head. Your Honor, are we seriously entertaining this circus? But Amara didn't back down. She looked straight at the judge and said, The Sixth Amendment gives my mother the right to counsel. If she chooses me, that's her right. The judge paused. She wasn't smiling anymore. And Amara added, Unless this court wants to violate the Constitution on the record. You could hear a pin drop. The clerk leaned over and whispered to the judge. Quiet. Urgent. The judge cleared her throat. Fine. For the record, Ms. Johnson is appearing pro se on behalf of her mother. This court will proceed. Gasps. One man in the back took off his glasses. Another woman in a power suit leaned forward, eyes wide. No one expected this. Not in this courtroom. Not in this case. And definitely not from a 13-year-old girl. But Amara was just getting started. And she had come prepared. The judge leaned back in her chair, still skeptical. Very well, Ms. Johnson. You may proceed with your opening statement. Amara took a deep breath. She didn't read from a script. Didn't fumble. She just spoke. Slowly. Clearly. My name is Amara Johnson. I may be 13 years old. But I understand justice. And I understand that my mother is being framed. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. The prosecutor smirked again, arms folded. Objection, Your Honor. This is grandstanding. The judge nodded. Stick to the facts, Ms. Johnson. I intend to, Amara said. Then she pointed to a box of evidence. That security footage? It's missing 23 seconds. 23 seconds when the cashier at Grover's Market walked away from the register, right before the money went missing. They say my mother took it. But the footage skips. Now people were listening. She continued, voice steady. The store manager? His statement says my mother was loitering suspiciously. But he has 2 complaints of racial profiling already filed against him with the city. The judge blinked. Amara didn't stop. My mom works 3 jobs. Has never been arrested. Never even been late on a bill. But the moment something went missing, they blamed the black woman shopping for groceries. No one laughed now. She looked straight at the judge. If this court wants to convict someone based on broken footage and biased testimony, go ahead. But I won't let you do it without hearing the full truth. The judge stared at her. Then slowly said, Continue. Later that day, during recess, the prosecutor paced outside the courtroom. Angry. On the phone. She's a kid. I don't care how smart she is. We're not losing this case because of a child. Behind him, the door creaked open. It was Amara. She walked up to him. Calm. Measured. Why are you so scared of the truth? He turned around. Scoffed. You think this is some high school project? This is real life. People like your mother don't get to walk away. She tilted her head. People like my mother? Or people like me? He didn't answer. But his silence said enough. Inside the courtroom, Amara's mother sat in the defendant's chair. Head down. Hands trembling. She looked at her daughter, whispering, Baby, you don't have to do this. Amara squeezed her hand. I do, Mama. No one else will. The judge returned to her bench. Is the defense ready to call its first witness? Amara stood. Yes, Your Honor. I call Officer Randall to the stand. A police officer, middle-aged, clean-cut, approached the witness box. As he swore in, his eyes met Amara's. She didn't flinch. She began her questioning. Officer Randall, did you review the security footage the night my mother was arrested? Yes. Did you notice the 23-second gap in the video? He shifted. I did. Did you report that gap? A pause. No. It seemed like a technical issue. Amara nodded. Is it standard procedure to arrest someone when the primary footage is incomplete? Randall looked nervous. Not usually, no. And yet you arrested my mother. He opened his mouth, then closed it. The courtroom murmured. The judge banged her gavel. Order! Amara walked back to her table. Calm. Controlled. But inside, something was burning. Not fear. Not doubt. But fire. And it was growing. Outside the courtroom, a local journalist typed furiously on her laptop. 13-year-old defends mother in court, and she's winning. Inside, the prosecutor leaned toward the judge. Your Honor, we need to move this along. This is turning into a media circus. But the judge didn't respond. She was watching Amara. And for the first time, there was no smirk on her face. Only curiosity. Maybe even concern. Because deep down, she knew. This girl wasn't just defending her mother. She was building a case that could tear the whole courtroom apart. The next morning, the courtroom was packed. Locals. Reporters. Even a few law students from the university down the road had squeezed in, notebooks out, eyes wide. Everyone wanted to see what the girl would do next. But what they didn't know was that the prosecution had a plan. And it wasn't pretty. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Holloway walked in. Robes crisp. Face tight. The mood was colder. Harsher. The playfulness from before, gone. Amara sat alone at the defense table. Her mother beside her, anxious. Amara's pencil tapped quietly against her yellow legal pad. A rhythm. A focus. Her way of pushing back the nerves. The judge cleared her throat. Prosecution may proceed with witness testimony. The prosecutor stood up slowly, fixing his jacket. I'd like to call Cassandra Wexler to the stand. A new name. A new face. A woman in her 40s entered the room, heels clicking like thunder against the floor. Designer bag. Gold watch. Hair pulled tight. The store manager's district supervisor. As she raised her right hand to swear in, Amara narrowed her eyes. Something didn't feel right. The prosecutor began. Ms. Wexler, you reviewed the internal audit at Grover's Market after the alleged theft? Yes, she said, her voice sharp and confident. We found no indication of missing footage. No tampering. Just an employee caught on camera stealing from the register. Amara stood. Objection. The footage shows a gap. Overruled. The judge snapped. Amara froze. A tremor in her breath. The prosecutor turned to the jury. Let me be clear. This wasn't profiling. This wasn't racism. This was theft caught on tape. The jury nodded, slowly. Absorbing. Believing. Then he dropped the hammer. We also uncovered a previous warning filed against Ms. Johnson's mother at another store. An unpaid item. Not charged. Let go at the time, but now it paints a pattern, doesn't it? Amara's head shot up. That's not admissible. The judge banged the gavel. Sit down, Ms. Johnson. The courtroom shifted. The mood had changed. People whispered again. But not about Amara's courage. About her losing. About whether she'd finally hit the wall. Amara's mother covered her face, whispering, I'm sorry, baby. Maybe we just let this go. Amara didn't respond. Not yet. Not here. She stood again. Your Honor, I'd like to call one more witness. The judge sighed. You've already had your turn, Ms. Johnson. But I have new evidence. Amara interrupted. Critical evidence. The judge raised an eyebrow. The prosecutor laughed. From where? Her history textbook? But then Amara reached into her bag and pulled out a flash drive. She held it up. My friend Marcus downloaded it from the cloud backup of Grover's internal system. The footage, before it was edited. The prosecutor's face went pale. Objection! He barked. This is illegal. Chain of custody. It's metadata. Amara shot back. The footage proves the tape was altered. And the person who logged in and made the edits. She paused. Was Cassandra Wexler. The room exploded. The judge stood up. Order in the court. Reporters typed faster. Phones went up. Amara stepped forward. Your Honor, I request the court admit this drive into evidence. And I request a subpoena for Grover's internal access logs to confirm who altered the footage. The judge hesitated. Then turned to the prosecutor. Is this true? He didn't answer. But his silence, again, was louder than any denial. The judge sat back down. Quiet. Measured. Then she looked directly at Cassandra Wexler. Ms. Wexler, if this footage confirms you tampered with evidence, you may be facing perjury. Possibly more. Wexler stammered. I was told to clean up the footage. It's standard protocol. Who told you? The judge asked. Wexler looked down. Didn't answer. Amara leaned closer to the mic. Her voice steady. That's the pattern, Your Honor. They try to bury the truth. Cover it up. And when someone speaks out, they call it disobedience. Arrogance. But it's just justice. And I'm not afraid of it. The judge said nothing. But something had shifted again. This time, in Amara's favor. The courtroom didn't just see a girl anymore. They saw a force. Not loud. Not angry. Just undeniable. The judge ordered a recess. Not because she wanted to. Because she had to. The courtroom was spinning. What began as a petty theft case had suddenly cracked open like a fault line. The flash drive had been plugged in. The footage had been played. And the truth? The truth hit harder than anyone expected. 23 seconds. That's all it took. In the restored footage, the store's assistant manager, Todd Langley, walked behind the register. Looked around. Opened the drawer. And stuffed a handful of bills into his jacket. He didn't know the side camera was still rolling. He thought Cassandra Wexler would cover his tracks. And she did. Until now. When court resumed, the atmosphere had changed. No more smirking. No more whispers. Just eyes locked on the girl in braids, standing tall beside her mother. Judge Holloway straightened in her seat. Based on the footage presented, and the preliminary verification of internal access logs, this court is issuing a subpoena for the personnel records of both Cassandra Wexler and Todd Langley, and an immediate suspension of all charges against Ms. Johnson's mother. A cheer rose from the gallery. But Amara wasn't done. Your Honor, she said softly. May I address the court one last time? The judge nodded. Amara turned, not to the judge, not to the jury, but to the crowd. To the people who watched her walk in that first day and laughed. She pointed to the table. This was never just about groceries. Or 23 seconds. It was about who people choose to believe, and who they don't. She scanned the room. No one questioned the manager's word. No one looked deeper. Because it was easier to believe that the single black mom with too many jobs was the thief, Cassandra Wexler shifted uncomfortably. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering frantically. Amara continued. They never expected someone to fight back. Especially not someone like me. But I had to. Because the system wasn't going to save us. The judge's gaze softened. Her fingers no longer tapped impatiently on the bench. Amara's voice cracked, just slightly. I read every page of the Constitution. I studied every precedent. Not because I wanted to be a lawyer, but because I had to be one, just to keep my family together. There wasn't a sound in the room. Even the prosecutor looked down, ashamed. Then Amara reached into her bag one last time. Pulled out a thin, worn folder. I'm also submitting this, Your Honor. It's a formal motion to open an investigation into racial profiling and procedural misconduct by Grover's Market and its partners. And I'd like the court to appoint a special investigator. The judge stared at the folder. Then stared at Amara. You wrote this? Yes, ma'am. You're 13. Amara nodded. The judge blinked. Then whispered, barely audible. So was Alexander Hamilton. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. Microphones reached for Amara like branches in a storm. But she didn't speak. She just held her mother's hand and walked through the crowd. Calm. Steady. Behind them, the prosecutor gathered his briefcase. Quietly. Slowly. Then turned to Judge Holloway, still in her robes. Your Honor, are we really letting a child dictate legal process? The judge didn't even look at him. She simply said, We didn't let her. She earned it. Back inside the courtroom, as the bailiff stacked papers and the gallery emptied, someone sat quietly in the back row. A tall woman in a charcoal gray suit. She wasn't there earlier. Didn't speak. Didn't move. Just watched. Then pulled out her phone and made a single call. Yeah, it's me. I found her. The girl. She's the real deal. Pause. No. Not law school. Pause again. I want her in D.C. I'll sponsor her myself. 2 weeks later, the headlines still hadn't stopped. 13-year-old girl dismantles racist case in courtroom, shocker. Legal prodigy or just a determined daughter? America debates Amara Johnson. Judge Holloway reverses course, launches ethics probe into prosecution misconduct. The country had watched. The town had changed. And the courtroom would never be the same again. Todd Langley was arrested on charges of embezzlement and evidence tampering. Cassandra Wexler resigned before she could be indicted, but not before issuing a tepid public apology that the media tore to shreds. The prosecutor who laughed too loud? Suspended, pending an investigation by the state bar. And Grover's Market? Facing a class-action lawsuit and boycotts across the state. But none of that was what mattered most. Because Amara wasn't thinking about headlines or handcuffs. She was thinking about her mother. About the night her mom broke down in the kitchen, whispering, I thought I'd lose everything. I thought they'd take me from you. And Amara, hugging her tight, whispering back, Not if I could help it. The mayor's office invited Amara to a community justice panel. The local university offered her a full scholarship. And one afternoon, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her school. Out stepped the woman from the back of the courtroom. U.S. District Judge Lorraine Parker. She didn't waste time with small talk. She looked Amara in the eye and said, There's a summer program in D.C. Only a few students. Handpicked. They shadow federal judges, meet legal scholars, even write opinions. Pause. I want you in it. Amara blinked. But I'm just a kid. Judge Parker smiled. That's what they all said in court. But we both know better now, don't we? At the courthouse, Judge Holloway held a press conference. A reporter asked her bluntly, Do you regret dismissing Amara at first? The judge didn't dodge. I do, she said. Then looked directly into the camera. And I think every person in this system needs to ask themselves why we didn't listen sooner. Back home, Amara taped a photo to her bedroom wall. It wasn't of her in court. Not the newspaper clippings. not the flash drive. It was a picture of her and her mom, standing together on the courthouse steps, hand in hand, with the word acquitted stamped bold behind them. And under it, she scribbled something in pencil. If the system won't protect us, we'll just have to learn how to protect each other. Months later, she testified before a local board of education, arguing for legal literacy to be taught in middle schools. She ended her speech with words that stopped the room. Knowing your rights is not arrogance. Defending your family is not disrespect. And speaking the truth, no matter how young you are, is not a crime. Standing ovation. And in that same courthouse where it all began, a new plaque was mounted on the wall. Right under the motto, Equal Justice Under Law. It read, In honor of Amara Johnson, who reminded us that courage has no age, and that the law belongs to everyone. Because she wasn't just a kid who stunned the courtroom. She was the one who made it listen,